Hello and welcome to Rare Cuts Media Society, the podcast that looks at hidden media gems where the surfboards are wet but the humor is dry. Your host, as always, I'm Andrew Jagoda, and with me we've got Eric Hathorn. How are you today, Eric?
I'm ready to hang 10. If I picked up my surfing lingo.
All right. And then, of course, we've got Mike Ross. How are you today, Mike?
I'm doing all right. The ocean is big and it's scary. I don't need. I've caught some waves, but in the sense that they snuck up behind me and they hurt me. So I don't need to. I don't need to go into surfing at all. Not for me.
All right. Well, we'll keep you out of the water here tonight.
Thank you.
And of course, Rob Lachik. How are you today, Rob?
I'm doing very good. We are really embracing the spirit of some surfing and the summer here. I'm excited to talk about this film today.
All right. Well, with that, we are going to stick with Rob as we continue our arc of the Summer of Sports with Rob's pick, and I'll let him go ahead and introduce it.
All right. So I was actually very excited when we kind of did our little roundabout of what sport we were all going to get. I really wanted to get the random sport, not the traditional one. So I was very happy when I did. So I chose The Endless Summer. The Endless Summer is a surfing documentary from 1966. It was produced, filmed, edited, and narrated by Bruce Brown. The story covers two Southern California boys, Mike Heinsohn, forgive me if I'm saying his name wrong, and Robert August. They're in search of the perfect wave and hoping to follow the seasons and surf all around the world as the seasons change, as they kind of talk about following the coast from north to south and back, following summer around the world, hence the Endless Summer. So I will preface this, and I did say it was a documentary, but kind of wasn't your typical documentary. Kind of like, let's think of some real famous documentaries. They include interviews with subject characters or interviews with persons who are connected to the subject matter, like a very long one, but a very good one. Like Ken Burns' Baseball, right? There's interviews with actual ball players, right?
Very long one.
But then
you have a million hours on free.
Thank God right now that Rob didn't pull baseball from the choices of sports.
Wasn't the original title for that one The Endless Documentary?
It could be.
I love Ken Burns, but that's too long on baseball. No.
Even now, he's adding, I'm sure. And they're just re-releasing without even telling people that there's added hours of content.
Yeah, it just grows.
And then the Dodgers won again.
Where did those videos come from? Anyway, so we're like Ken Burns' Baseball. You got interviews with ball players, like actual ball players. Then you have interviews with random people. Like Billy Crystal is interviewed in Ken Burns' Baseball numerous times. Even I think what's his name, George Will, totally unrelated to baseball, but a big baseball fan. But interview people, they talk to them. The weird part of this documentary, you don't even hear audio of the scenes. You just hear the music, and you actually never hear Mike or Robert's voices in the documentary. There's not even much of a background on Mike or Robert through the film. There's no interviews with the people that they encounter. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit later, all the different peoples that they encounter. But they don't interview them. There's nothing about the science of surfing. Not how waves are formed, things you would think that would be talked about in a true documentary about a subject. And then even another weird part of it is the film started, it comes across they're in search of the perfect wave, right? And the ironic piece, you would think that'd be the climax of the film. They actually find the perfect wave about halfway through the documentary. So it's kind of okay.
Well, you really should have been here yesterday.
Yes. You should have been here yesterday. Exactly.
That's when the perfect wave happened.
So I guess I kind of posed the question here to kind of kick our chatter on this film. So, like, was it really about surfing, looking for that perfect wave? Was it really about surfing that endless summer? Or was it just a ploy to watch two California boys surf around the world? I'm going to open it up to you guys. What do you guys think? Was it really a documentary? Or was it just like, hey, I love surfing. I'm going to put all these clips together with these two guys and then see if people bite?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it not to knock it, because I'm not saying that it was terrible, but it wasn't so much a documentary to me. It was like if somebody said, okay, you've got a school project to do, and it's called How I Spent My Endless Summer Vacation. Yeah, there wasn't any. I mean, I thought they would have at least done like the history of like, oh, and then the surfboard, the first so and so. Nothing. Just some names of some guys that were surfing back in the '60s, and then one or two women, I think. So it was.
There's a couple ladies there.
Yeah. I mean, there were, but they didn't name a lot of them. So I was kind of like, oh, you're not even going to name like half the people that are out there.
It's unusual.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would equate it. What it really felt like more than anything was just a skater's reel. Like you see it all the time where skaters go out and they have their GoPro cameras and everything. Someone's like, following behind them, catching their kick flips and everything else. That's what this felt like, because a lot of it, they show like they're riding the wave and how well they're doing. And it's definitely more of like the highlights of, their best footage. And I mean, I've seen a few surfers before, like in person, and there's a lot of time where they're just sitting there waiting for the right wave to start heading in. And so this was like the highlight reel for them. Like, this is like where the action was happening, not so much where they're just kind of sitting around. And to what you said, like, they're not talking about how or what they're looking for or any of that. It's just like, and here they are riding a really long wave, and couldn't even get it all on this reel. So, and so it feels less documentarian, feels like highlight reel / a time capsule. It really feels like a time capsule at this point.
Yeah, no, the highlight reel thing is real. That's a bad pun. But I remember, so like in the 80s and 90s, like the skateboard videos was like a big thing. And it's almost like that whole movement came out of this. You know what I mean? Like, this was one of those things, these like surf movies kind of paved the way for those, in that like I saw Endless Summer 2. Like, when you picked this, Rob, I told you guys, I saw Endless Summer 2 like in like 1997 or 1998, so like late 90s. I saw that it was an early 90s film, and I saw it in the context of like X Game videos. Like, I saw some X Game videos. I saw Endless Summer 2 was like part, like, as people were like, hey, watch this one. Look at this wipeout. Look at this. Now this person's like, doing skateboard tricks. Now let's play Tony Hawk Pro Skater. But that would have been a little later. But you know what I mean? So like that's, I saw it in context of that.
Then Kelly Slater Pro Surfer. That came out.
Well, there you go, right? That's this as a video game.
Yeah. But
so I'm gonna push back a little and say that I do think it's a documentary, and this is my qualifier. So as far as like not hearing these guys talk, I think that's more of an equipment limitation, in that this was filmed in 16 millimeter with a camera that didn't have sound. Sure. So that they could hold it on the surfboard. So even sometimes when he's doing the narration, you could see like he tries to like voice sync with what the guy on the screen is saying a little bit, and you could like see the lips, you could like read the lips a little bit, and it matches what the narration is saying, because like he could. So I think it was like, because I don't have audio, I'm going to lean away from it So like I can't do interviews. Like if that's the only camera he has, he can't do interview shots. So what is he going to make of it? Now, about 10 plus years before this, a very famous series of documentary films added that musical sound
Here comes
effect
Disney.
storytelling thing. Oh yeah, you know it.
There's no stopping them.
Do you remember when we watched The Living Desert?
Yeah.
And it was like the musical and the animals, and there you would hear the little sound effects and they would tell you the story and the thing would jump out. That at the time was revolutionary in the sense that Disney started making documentaries like this edutainment thing where it wouldn't just be informational. They would try to have like a humanized storytelling aspect to the animals. So they would add that story. They would make a story. So essentially, in theory, I know they did go around the world, but they could have shot this out of order. But they're telling the story to make it more compelling. And they would do things like the wave would splash and you'd hear like a brass sound from the band, or you'd hear like a drum roll or something when someone fell off of the board. And that was very reminiscent of Disney did the True Life Adventures, which we watched one a few years back in the summer, the Living Desert. And then they did the People and Places documentary. And especially when they would interact with someone from one of these other countries, they were in Ghana, they were in South Africa, and they had the animal wrangler guy in South Africa. Those things were very much like Disney's People and Places documentaries, because those all often didn't have the sound. They'd have the narration and they'd have sound effects and they would have music, because they were also filmed on 16 millimeter cameras that didn't have sound capabilities. So it was kind of to make the story work when I only have soundless footage, you depend a lot on your narration and your music. So you have to throw it out there. I have to throw those out.
I got to have my rebuttal here, though. So, I get what the connection correlation you're trying to make, and I do feel like the Disney programs were more documentary themed. This is less so. Mostly, it started out when it first opened, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be informational. This is going to be kind of interesting. And then it became, the best comparison I have is America's Funniest Videos, where they're overdubbing everything.
Yes.
Is that not documentary? I need a definition of documentary. I'm going to look it up.
See, what I'm looking for is I'm looking to learn something when I watch a documentary. I want to gain information. And the reason I didn't learn anything, they use a lot of things that they say through the narration that are inherently incorrect and generally fairly racist. So,
well, for sure.
Well, this was 1966. So.
I know, and that's why again, I still qualify this as a time capsule. So
well, and so in one of the definitions of documentary, as I'm finding on Oxford here, it does say that one of the purposes of a documentary film is to maintain a historical record. So in hindsight, is this not a documentary? But it's not, maybe not at the time. Maybe it was less a documentary at the time. Because I agree with you with I guess with the Disney rant that I did, I wanted to say I feel like they took a bunch of pages out of Disney's documentary book to try to make this work as a documentary, even though it wasn't very educational. But in hindsight, it does maintain more of a historical record.
Yeah, I guess I would agree with it. Then at that definition, I can't really.
Not the other parts of the definition say that it's primarily for instruction, education, or to document reality. I mean, the documenting reality is but then they kind of skew it. So I don't know.
Well, it's less. It's less a documentary on surfing and more a documentary on how Americans viewed the rest of the world.
Yes. Oh, there's a lot. You could so much so. Yeah. 100%. in hindsight, you can see, yeah. Just, yeah.
Well, according to Merriam-Webster, nuts
Yes.
to that.
Oxford. Anyways. Yeah, that's all. Disney. Maybe this is a documentary.
Well, I think to a certain extent, it certainly is not your traditional documentary. Let's just be real, right? It is definitely not. Could there be things and aspects of it that you can consider that? No. But you guys said it right. It's a clip reel, right? It's a TikTok or a YouTube reel 50 years before those even got close to existing, right? I think a good precursor to that, like you said, was the skateboarding ones of the 90s and such. But yeah, it's definitely not fitting the straight bill of a documentary. So the other piece, which this is kind of a bonus topic I threw on there quickly, the narration by Bruce Brown. That was kind of obvious. That's like the only thing you hear other than the music, which we will get to in a moment. That's really the only thing you hear through the whole film. And I won't even call it a documentary for now. I'm just going to call it a film. Did you guys find it like entertaining at all? Was it obnoxious? Because it was definitely over the top. Like a little historical piece to the film when this was actually originally released in theaters. Bruce Brown would actually go to the theaters and he would narrate it live at the theaters. Kind of interesting, weird.
Yeah.
But he did go to like the theaters and they would basically show it on a screen with no audio.
Was
or
there
if they
music?
were able to put the music. I didn't see anything on that, but I did read that he would narrate it himself live,
like a silent
in the
movie
theaters
with a narrator.
So that would be kind of weird. So kind of maybe say that, like the narration, was it too silly? Was it just right? Would it have been better with no narration and just let it be a clip reel, or did it really need that to kind of try to tell a story? It would have been a little bit difficult if you didn't have that, especially with having no audio of like the actual film.
Yeah, I think if they didn't have the narration, I would have fallen asleep a lot. Because if you think about it, just completely left it as is, kept the music, but took the narration out, I would have no idea what they were doing. None at all. It would be like watching Koyaanisqatsi, which if you've ever seen it, you know it's like, what is it? What? Because it's just images and sound and no plot, nothing.
Well, would it have been better? I'm going to throw this out there. Would it have been better if they did like the 1920s films where they would break away and it would be the black screen and it would have the caption. Like he would wipe out and it would just go to the black and say, ouch.
Well, see, no, but I'm gonna stick up for his narration.
It'd be hilarious.
It would be, but I'm gonna stick up for it because to me, the whole time I listened to him talk, it sounded to me like listening to Rod Serling on Twilight Zone. It was that kind of like mellow, just like there wasn't a big rises in pitch. It was just like this straight shot kind of narration with this real dry humor, and I loved it. I mean, yeah, it got weird at times. Yeah, sometimes it was racist, but I mean, so was Rod Serling a little bit.
Again, put yourself in the time period that it was the 1960s.
It was the 60s.
And so were Walt Disney's True Life Adventure films sometimes, and the People and Places films. And I feel like he was really just doing it again. I'm going to talk about it again. But the jokes, like how... when they would talk about and then they would like the little goofy they're always going to check in with the natives, and then they would show like some Australian girl or something like that, and like make a gag about that. Like, and it was like a visual, like that's what those did. Like, if you remember when we watched the Living Desert, they would so much like anthropomorphize the animals to like make them like, now he's all upset, and it would just be like a a lizard like making a face, and it would be like he's sticking his tongue out at you, and they would say stuff like goofy little. And I feel like he watched a lot of True Life Adventure before he narrated this thing. But anyways, I'm gonna throw that Disney out there again. The whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, this feels like one of those Disney documentaries, and I've watched quite a few, so it's like it felt like it was in that zone.
Yeah. I don't know, like, because the more and more I'm thinking about it, it feels like they went on vacation. They did what they wanted to do. They had their 16 millimeter camera, basically recording their vacation videos, and then after the fact, like, what if we made this a movie? You're pretty funny. Why don't you come up with some stuff and just. And I feel like it probably happened more organically than maybe setting out to be like, we're going to make a feature length film here. I could be wrong, but the humor got tiring just from the standpoint that they recycled some of the lines repeatedly. So it's just towards the end, I was just like, is it over yet? Oh no, we're going to another place.
Especially since, like Rob said, they already found the perfect wave.
Yeah, and it's just like, when is it going to end?
I would have loved to.
It never has.
I would have loved to see what like Rodney Dangerfield or somebody would do with the narration for that. Like, oh, wait, we're going somewhere else. Oh.
Yeah, someone should recut this.
I already found it.
Someone could recut it with some different person giving their ad libs.
We'll
Bob
get there.
Saget's,
We'll get there eventually.
John Lovitz.
Oh, that's a good one. All right. So obviously the film, I mean, the visuals are good, and we'll get to that even in a moment too. The narration, Bruce Brown, I mean, it is what it was, right? But the other piece that I think is probably one of the most, like, even I found myself humming it while I was just like cooking around the kitchen, was the music of the film. I mean, I would argue it's just as important as the visuals of Mike and Robert surfing. I mean, you get the story, whatever story that's being told by Bruce Brown. So the soundtrack was performed by the surf rock band the Sandals, and no surprise, they are from Southern California. This was kind of like their big bite at success, if you will, in their career. They really didn't do a lot other than like this and other kind of like surfing music. Even after breaking up in the late 60s, they would reunite to do what else? Re-record the Endless Summer soundtrack. So this was kind of like their big thing as a band. They would even contribute to the sequel, the movie that Eric, you mentioned, The Endless Summer 2, that came out in 94, I believe we said as before we started recording. So I did find the music to be like really to kind of get a little bit, if you will, an earworm. There were a number of songs, and I mean, they had a lot of repeats, but that's kind of the same in a lot of films, right? They'll have like think of like the Star Wars themes coming back throughout the whole film. It's similar. What was your guys' take on the music? Did you think it helped with the flow? I mean, I know me personally, I did search out and listen to the Sandals quite a bit after watching this. What was your guys' take on the film, on the music in the film?
A lot of times when they tell you to study film or whatever, they'll say that music is its own. The music in the film is its own character. So if the character doesn't fit, then it's not going to work. And I felt like this character for this movie, it took on its own life, because without it, I would just be sitting there staring and just kind of go, like, just look around. It fit to me the flow perfectly. It never got in the way of what you were seeing, and that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it kind of helps solidify again the time capsule or the actual feel of SoCal surfing, 60s. It kind of encapsulates all of that. So I mean, without the music, yeah, you got something that no one would even be able to watch or bear watching.
I enjoy, like, I like what you guys are saying about it, because it is very, like, it fit, and it's one of those things where I'm like, did this fit because it was there, and it helped to like put a pin in the world of like, this legit is surf rock, like surf rock as a genre, because I mean, you had surf rock bands before this, but this is like that grittier surf rock a little bit more. Like, I feel like there's more distortion in this in 1966 than like the surf rock era of the Beach Boys. So then that reminded me of something that I had read when I was like reading about this, as like, I watched it and I'm like, well, hold on, let me look at some more of this stuff. And one of the reasons our buddy Bruce Brown wanted to make the movie is because at this time there were a bunch of those like beach party surf kind of movies that like misrepresented surf culture in his opinion. So it was very like that clean cut, we're dancing on the beach, someone's going to go surfing kind of thing, which were like those Frankie Avalon and Disney legend Annette Funicello movies. See, I got it in there again. But like, so those were all happening. You didn't know I would do it that much. And they had like the clean cut surf rock. And one thing I did notice is like this had more of like the gritty, maybe more of like, and like the Sandals aren't like a big one. They're maybe more of like a lesser known, like dare I say indie, like in the 60s, but like indie surf rock band, more of a little grittier, like raw surf rock that maybe the real surfers would more listen to something a little more along the lines of them than they would like Dick Dale, or someone like that. So like, I was like, it fits it, but does it fit it because we're in the future and people have watched this movie and it's made such an impact that this feels right for surfing? Like I would wonder at the time, like if you ask someone, like, did that feel like surfing? And they would be like, yeah, like it felt like surfing in the same way that when Benny Hill runs around a set and they play that song, it sounds right. But I don't know if that just sounds right because I'm used to seeing it that way. So like, the emulators of like, I'm going to emulate Endless Summer by using surf rock in this surf reel because that's the feel I want. That's the vibe. But it definitely I was here for the vibe. It felt right.
That is an interesting thing you bring up, Eric. Now I kind of want to like put this movie on, turn the volume down, and play yakety sax while they're surfing.
You got to do it on one of those scenes where there's like a bunch of surfers coming over the wave and someone's wiping out and they're like chasing each other and stuff. Yeah. I love it.
All right. So one of the other pieces, which I mean, again, clip reel type of style of a film, it is full of beautiful scenery, shots of the ocean, sunsets. I mean, Mike and Robert taking on some sweet waves, if you will. I mean, even some of the part where you can see like the faces of the locals. I think it was in Ghana. I think was the location where they had all the kids, and then the chiefs would steal the board. Like even just watching the kids' like faces, like and like looking like, what the heck are these guys doing? Because they never saw anybody surfing before. But there are times you could get the feel of the shoestring budget of it, of the film. So this is good and bad, but like the visual I thought was really, really good, generally speaking, for the film. Was there anything like that came to you particularly from the film that like was like really memorable from a visual standpoint?
I don't know about the visual standpoint. I mean, it was like pretty scenery. But I was more focused on the the racism. So,
I was focused on the racism. There you go. There you go. Put that as the tagline for this podcast.
Oh dear God.
no, I mean seriously, because again, going back to the whole, documentary or what is this type film, and you've mentioned how well they were interested in what he was doing with the surfboard, and they came out from their village to watch them, and from what I can tell, they were familiar with surfing in that area prior to them being there. They had an understanding of what it was, and some of the locals had ways of doing their own types of surfing. So it's maybe just the fact that there were some white guys with a camera out there that made it more interesting. But to have the narration like they've never seen anything like this before, and it's inherently false. So like I was more focused on those aspects than kind of the cinematography.
I think one thing visually that did strike me was when they came back to California and they showed, and I forget the name of the point, but it was the one where they basically said, you're risking your life if you go here, and they're showing the waves crashing on the rocks and everything. And then, of course, some guys go out there anyway. But those waves, I'm visually, this movie or documentary or whatever you call it had a lot of shots that I was shocked came from the 60s because the waves looked so good on camera. And that was one of them.
Yeah, and like for us now, like personally, like I like watching it, like as someone who grew up watching here or there, like it wasn't like my hobby to watch skateboard, surf, and those kind of videos, but they were prevalent in the 80s and 90s, and I remember my cousin would get into it and do that kind of stuff, all the skateboarding, rollerblades going on the pole, like the railing or whatever, and it's like it would be one of those things that you'd watch the X Games, and it's like that happened then, and now if you want to see that stuff, you can watch billions of hours on, like you said, the reels on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and like it's all like we have seen so much of this. But then if I bring myself back to 1966 and you get these people who have seen the like fake beach movies and then they see this, I think it would be quite spectacular. It would be like, exciting to see. And it was like there were some images that were really neat. I do wish though, like going back to what Mike's saying, like I really wish I could have got a little more like real info about the places that they were going, and like if that dude from South Africa really did put a snake in your sleeping bag, like why didn't I get to see that? Why did you just tell me that? Like that you made up. I know you made that up. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. That was made up. Come on. There were like things made up like that like made me go, oh, come on. But like, yeah, it was, I mean, I can imagine in 1966 it being very impressive to see those things if you've never seen them before.
To that point, there was a lot of, if you will, fibs and white lies, like the one where they do find the perfect wave in, as they call it, the perfect wave in South Africa. They made the comment of like, oh, this is like over 300 days a year. And I guess like there were people who lived in the area and they said this happens maybe a couple times a month. And that's about it. So it was a little bit of a white lie, but probably sounds better to put on a documentary or a film.
Well,
than just.
And I'm sure a lot of it was just like hearsay stuff that maybe they heard someone say this thing and then they're just presenting it as the facts without having the actual research behind it. But going back to visually, like the one shot that I think stuck with me throughout any of it was when they actually had the camera mounted on the board in the water. Like, that's really impressive for that time period.
Yeah.
All right. So we've had some good. We've had a few knocks on the film, understandably, but I think we can't deny how successful the film was, even just commercially. I believe it took in. I think let's see, what was the actual? Here, I have it up here. The box office was $20 million for the film, so it was very successful in its run. But like as we, it has no audio. There's no interviews. Like was it just because of like the novelty of it, right? Because it was new, right? Nobody's going to make $20 million on a handful of TikTok clips now. Well, maybe they will. Who knows? The world's a crazy place. But like, Trip, like, it did work in that regard. From a, was it just the right place, the right time? Was it a combination of the music, the visuals, the really weird narration? I don't know. What were you guys like? Was there something that kind of clued you? Like, okay, I can understand why this was is as successful as it was.
I would say that its success is driven just from what was popular at the time. Like the Beach Boys were a huge band and influenced a ton of the culture at the time period. And so think about the people that are, you know, Midwesterners. They don't really get to see this type of footage every day, if at all. And so, you know, they hear these songs about, you know, Surf City and like all the surf songs, and now they get to see a really good visual and representation of what they've been hearing about and seeing the surf culture and lifestyle. So I mean, I could see that being the draw. Like if it were to come out today, like Eric said, you know, there's thousands of TikToks and reels that anyone can watch of surfing. You're not going to have that kind of audience now. But for back then, yeah, for some people, this is probably the first time they've seen people actually riding waves out.
And I think that is absolutely true. Like this is kind of like one of the films that broke surfing to becoming a popular sport. Like before this surfing was really only like surfing in the way that it was done with longboards in this way was really only something in Southern California and in Hawaii. The rest of the world really didn't do this. There was a few pockets here, like in South Africa, there was a handful of people who actually did surfing. But outside of those regions, it was not really widespread. So could have been just the novelty, like kind of like you said. Sorry to jump in. But I'd throw that out there.
No, it's good. I think too the like just at the point in time where this is happening in the 60s, like we're in like, I mean, let's talk about, I keep talking about the Beach Boys. Let's talk about the Beach Boys again. I don't know why I had to say that like a secret, but I did. The Beach Boys have like that kind of, the Beatles have it too, but the Beach Boys, we're going to go with the surf culture America, and they have that like clean cut switch to like the later 60s, you know, Pet Sounds kind of like concept album, a little bit more experimental vibe going on. And like the 60s, from what I know in my history books and the books that I read for fun and things like that, the 60s started to turn at this point as far as pop culture goes, in from that like leftover 50s clean cut image kind of stuff into the more counterculture stuff that's coming later in the 60s. And like this film kind of feels like it lives in that space. Like it feels like it lives in that space. Like the surf stuff and the like, from my angle as a 90s kid watching highlight reels of skateboarders, like, which was very aligned with the punk rock movement of that point in time, and ska music and stuff like that's always been like alternative, shall we say. So this is kind of like an alternative situation where like you get this cool extreme sport happening mid 60s right before people start thinking about the larger world around them. And these guys go around the world around them like in different ways. And they do this sport that like is not necessarily seen as like a traditional regular sport. That's why Rob picked it for the non-traditional sport slot. And they do it and they make it accessible. And people go and see it and they love it because it's so interesting to see it like that, like in the context of when it's happening and how they did it and where technology's at and where surfing's at, like all of it. So I think it like really going back to like Mike's original thesis statement, if you meant it that way or not, that this is a very good depiction of like culture in 1966 in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
good, bad, the ugly.
Yeah, it shows it all. This is 1966
all.
in a time capsule.
I'm going to take an argument. I'm going to take a stance here from a different point of view. I'm going to say, what's the movie's name again? Endless Summer. What do people like to do in the summer when they're off of school, especially teenagers? Go to a movie to make out. What can Hey, it's true. I mean, it's.
I love where you're going with this.
You don't have the video games, all of that.
Don't make it too many babies.
So what do they want to do? They want to go and they want something that the guy will be like, this isn't some chick flick, and the woman won't be like grossed out by some horror movie or sci-fi. This checks the boxes. Why not go to the movies? You don't have to pay much attention. It's just a bunch of surfing video.
It's the right movie at the right time. There you go.
Right, it's the summer. You're out there. It's called the Endless Summer. And two, if there are parents out there that are a little more strict and conservative in the mid-60s, they go see it first. They say, actually, this is a surfing movie you can go see. Because there's nobody in a bikini running around the whole time. Just like one scene.
This movie got saucy real fast.
Well, I always make it soft.
No one is actually from the 60s. They never saw this movie. They were busy with their extracurriculars.
Oh, but wait. I got to go back a second. Because if you went to one of those...
drive-in. It's at the drive-in.
I was going to say, though, if you happen to see it at one of those showings where Bruce Brown was narrating, I don't think too many people were making out. I'm just going to say that. But that wasn't all of them.
Here's the beauty of it. At the drive-in back then, they just had the little speaker box. They could just shut it off.
Roll your window up.
I like that. That might be the best take of this entire film.
I like it too.
Out of everything we talked about, I like it. All right. So now we're going to get down to the part we have to talk about with all of our podcasts. Defoe. How could Defoe fit into this? Maybe we could do a little bit of a poll. Would Defoe be best as the narrator instead of Bruce Brown? So you could have the Green Goblin talking about surfing? Or would you just really like to watch Willem Dafoe try to surf for like an hour and a half and just keep wiping out in the ocean?
There's one line I have got to hear Defoe say. I don't know if you remember it, but they show like some little boy that the dad attached like floaties to the kid's back, and the narrator says, "So he'd float face down." Good job, Dad. I really want to hear that from Defoe.
So how does Defoe fit in? How does he fit in, guys?
I think he's just the narrator.
That would be great.
I have an idea. There's an outtake. Defoe is dressed as he is in the movie The Lighthouse. They're surfing. There's a lighthouse in the distance. And then he comes and commandeers one of the boards when it wipes out. And he tries to surf himself. But he has to be dressed like he is in the lighthouse. That's like an old ship captain, dude.
You mean naked in front of the
Not
light?
that way. Not that way. But he could, too. I mean, they had those kids. Some of them were naked on the surfboard. So, I mean, maybe both ways. Maybe he wipes out and then he is. But like the bearded sea captain looking Defoe.
Give me that
Don't do that.
surfboard.
Not that though.
I think,
We
gentlemen,
were trying
I
to
think we
catch
need-
some excellent waves, but there's this creepy lighthouse keeper that kept watching us.
If he does that,
That's
though,
the scene.
first shot of him, I want him to pick up the surfboard and stare at it like he has no clue what it is, and like
Yes.
it's making him angry.
That's what I want. That's find that footage. Find that footage.
What is
somewhere.
this horror of the sea?
Now, I am not a proponent to be building all of the data centers that are being built around the U.S., but if we could build one just to be able to replicate Willem Dafoe as the narrator for this film, it would be worth it, I think, in the end.
Yeah. Just ask him to do it. Let's just ask him to do it. We'll just send him a scene and say, "Hey, lay some narration down."
It was a wild ride in that endless summer, my friends.
Indubitably. And now that I like what you said there with the wild ride, that was fitting because they were riding the waves wildly. But we have to score this thing. And Escape to Victory, our lovely, I'm going to call it our World Cup choice because it was the soccer one, and it kicked off the summer. Get it? And now we're going to have a wild ride into the endless summer. But Escape to Victory got a 44. So that's what we're starting with, which is a respectable score. It's not like one of those ones I usually get. No. Anyways, let's get to the scoring. Speaking of which, Andrew, you're the first one on the board to score. So we shall score the board that
And he
is.
didn't even have to go watch Endless Summer at the drive-in.
That he did not. Oh man, I got to get to this one. There we go.
Just get Sarah to go with it, Jagoda, if you know what I mean.
This is a family show.
Yeah, she won't even go to see a regular movie with me. I think she's gonna go to that. Okay. Well, so Rarity, I'd heard of the title. I'd never seen it. I'm not big on documentaries, as you know. So it doesn't really surprise me that I'd never seen it. But since I'd heard about it, even though it's a 60s movie, I didn't think it was super rare. So I gave it a 3. Theme. Is there a single shot that doesn't involve surfing? Like maybe 2.
There's a zebra.
There's a zebra.
There's a zebra.
Maybe the kangaroo. There was a kangaroo too, wasn't there?
Kangaroo.
Yeah, it's heavy surfing.
It's a 5 for theme.
For sure.
Production value, I feel like it needs to be scored high because of, like you said, they had like a $50,000 budget, and they ended up with, all these amazing shots and fantastic scenery. So I'm going to give it a 4. Didn't have my big explosions, so. Enjoyment, I'm gonna go with the 3 because I feel like I liked the narration, I liked the music, but do I really care about surfing? Did I learn anything? I learned that I don't want to surf. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I like that.
Yeah, so Rarity, I think I'm going to be pretty similar to Andrew there. So I've never seen the film. I probably would have never chosen to watch the film. But, come on. The Beach Boys had a compilation album called Endless Summer that I was familiar with. And it was derived from this film directly. Also, and I sent a photo to you all, I was out in Maryland a few weeks ago, and there was the Endless Summer Surf Shop. So seemed like it's very well known in the surfing world. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 3, because outside the surfing world, it probably is pretty sketchy on if anyone even knows about it. Theme, yeah, Andrew said it perfectly. Surfboards everywhere. Production value, again, for what they shot with, basically 16 millimeter Bolex cameras. It's pretty impressive what they pulled off. I mean, with some of the footage and the distance and being able to hold tight on Robert and Mike, and keep things in focus, that's all pretty impressive. And then like we discussed, the shot where they actually mounted the camera on the board, which gave me a lot of anxiety because it's like, you're gonna destroy your camera.
What did he wrap around it? I kept wondering, because you can't just put the camera there without it getting soaked. So like, he had to put something on it.
If it were a documentary, they would have told us and explained how they were doing it.
It's true.
That's true. I'm gonna go 4. Enjoyment. I did not enjoy this. I enjoyed it from being the time capsule that it was, which is showing Americans are very full of themselves and egotistical. Like, hey, who's got the best waves? We got the best waves. You ever hear of a place called Hawaii?
You stole that, by the way. No.
and so then with what we've discussed, which were misinformation, or maybe information that's not exactly accurate, those things bother me. The blackface that they did for no reason other than to get like a gag and a laugh. It was inappropriate then. It's inappropriate now. I'm gonna give it a 2. So it's not a 1.
I knew that enjoyment category was gonna bite me in the butt.
True. Let me go through mine here. So for rarity, I'm going to be a little more harsh than the other two. I'm going to give it a 2, because I've been aware of it. I saw the second one. It was kind of like, when I saw the second one, it was in the context of like, don't see the first one. It is not as good as the second one as far as 90s sensibilities were. But I knew it existed. We didn't talk about it, but the like poster art, box art of the VHS tape, I'm going to call it a VHS tape because that's what it was back in the day, or DVD box art, whatever you want to call it, like the album art of the movie art is iconic. I have seen that on no less than like 600 t-shirts, and I'm going to challenge you all to look for that, because you will see it on posters, on blacklight posters, on t-shirts, on all sorts of things in your daily life that you don't like until like that you don't necessarily recognize it, because people will do it in all different colors sometimes too. Like you'll get it in like a blue and a green, kind of like our Rare Cuts look, but like there it's like the yellow and the pink and the oranges. But I have seen it so many times. H&M had that. I'll go down the list. I've seen it at Old Navy. Like Target probably had one at some point. Kohl's for sure, 100% Kohl's had this t-shirt. This shirt is everywhere. So I gave it the 2 because it is that thing. Like even if you don't know about it, like if you've never seen it, you know about it, and someone has seen it, and the Beach Boys, like, and in the store, like Mike was saying, there's like so many references to it. Anytime someone talks about it, Endless Summer, it's this. So that's my 2. Theme, that's the other end of the spectrum, because like they all said, I mean, the theme, remember the theme is just sports, and it's like a non-traditional sport you picked was like, or I didn't remember what we called it, but basically you could pick any sport you wanted, and you picked surfing, and this hit the surfing 100%. So there's that. Nice. Production value. I'm gonna be this guy. So like I have to like think of it in terms of like the scores I've given other movies too, and it is very impressive. I can't not say it was very impressive what they did with what they had, and I love and appreciate scrappiness and like, you know what I mean? Like they put something together that was very impressive with the little that they had. And I like that. So they did in the value sense, they got a lot of value out of it. And yes, they did have like one of my things, like Andrew wants the explosions. I want many locations, and they did go to many locations. But the only problem is they all looked the same. They were just water. So like you could have filmed the whole movie in California and I wouldn't have known the difference.
Maybe they did.
They might have. I don't know. So that's where I'm like, like there were a lot of locations, but like they all looked the same. And sometimes it was hard for me to like, by the time they were like towards the end of South Africa, I was like, are they still in South Africa? Or did they do something up higher than that? It's like, oh no, they're still there. I thought they were going like, anyways. So yeah, it was, yeah. For enjoyment though, I'm going to give it a 3 because it was kind of like one of those, I was kind of straight down the line on it. It was like having seen the stuff I was familiar with like Endless Summer 2 and like skateboard reels. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting, which disappointed me a little bit, but then it kind of was. And then it got me thinking about those Disney ones. But anyways, that's where I'm at. So thank you, Mike, for doing the math, because you got the scores while I was rambling there. And we're at a 42, which if I go down to the other one, let me get to the button where I could click to the other one, puts us at, so far, second in the running. Andrew has escaped to victory on this one by a couple of points. And the Summer of Sports is right now in his court.
Oh. And
Summer of George.
Again, with Endless Summer, it's a lie. The summer ended. It wasn't endless.
I mean, we're still in it right now.
Endless.
It didn't end for us. Stop trying to end summer, Mike. No.
Yeah. Son of a gun. We are not even halfway through July.
But yeah, half of the movie takes place in the winter. There you go. Let's take another point from it. No, I'm just... just messing. Oh, dear goodness. H-E double hockey sticks. And that's 1999. So H-E double hockey sticks from 1999 is our hockey movie, and it is not the greatest hockey movie in the world. It's not the greatest movie in the world. It is a made-for-TV movie in which a man sells his soul to win the Stanley Cup. But all sorts of things go wrong with that, of course, because when you sell your soul to a demon, as we've learned from countless other similar situations, there's always some sort of catch, right? And trickery and deception. But it's a good one. I love it. H-E double hockey sticks is my hockey pick. And I want y'all to watch H-E double hockey sticks on YouTube. There's many different versions on YouTube, so pick a good one. And if it's not good, just change and pick a different one. But remember where you watched up to, so you don't have to rewatch the whole thing again. Because I heard you might fall asleep.
A lot of them are the same one, just re-uploaded multiple times.
And be doing that with this.
The most enjoyable part for you may be the classic commercials that you get to view.
Yes. There are some old commercials in some of the rips. So maybe those count as part of the viewing experience as well for bonus points. But we'll have to see.
Depends.
We'll have to see.
If there are sport-related commercials, then yes.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Now, I have a good version of it then to watch because there's many sport-related commercials. So I will sway you all to no. Anyways, go watch HE Double Hockey Sticks on like a YouTube rip from 1999, and then meet us next time on the Rare Cuts Media Society.
Because it'll be hotter than hell in August.
Woo!